This is about conflict theory. Basically, this is a theory from the sociological tradition and social thought more broadly. One of the first proponents of this theory could be said to be Karl Marx, in that he was emphasizing the competition for scarce resources between different classes or groups, and he was attempting to explain social dynamics, economic dynamics via those group or class interests, and how they come to expression in the conflicts over those economic, political, social resources. And in contrast, one could say that Marx, Weber would be emphasizing not so much the dynamic aspect of those processes, but also the structural dimension of social processes, and that will be in contrast to the Marxian school of thought. So that it is not necessarily sociological as such, and I would say that there is no big theory of conflict, but there are different schools or scholars who are emphasizing their own understanding of how social conflicts occur. That for Weber, it will be important to stress that there are social structures, and they largely mediate the intensity of social conflict and how it plays out, so that for him there is a lot of mediation of collective individual interests via different social structures, cultural structures, economic structures, and this is part of, I think, of the structural school of sociology, which will be emerging out of the writing of Weber. And then other scholars such as Zimmel would be emphasizing in contrast psychological factors, saying that essentially the involvement of different groups of people in a different issue would also be affecting how strong social conflict would be, or how strong it would be experienced or be playing out in one situation or another. And of course, out of this point of view was also emerging the Frankfurt School, which would largely be focusing on the structural inequalities, so that for them those inequalities would be at the root of different conflicts that would be playing out in different spheres. And they will be seeking to connect various factors across social domains, so that one can think about maybe Adorno and Horkheimer as two figures who would be doing empirical research as part of the Frankfurt School the development. At the same time, I would say that for the Frankfurt School, the cultural factors would be very important. And for them, it would not necessarily be large-scale conflicts, maybe such as between classes, etc., but maybe less strongly expressed issues of inequality and of other factors playing a role in how society is being formed, or how it is changing over time. And of course, conflict theory is inherently related to the critical theory, which would be emphasizing the structural impact of inequality and how that plays out on the collective level, on the level of the individual, etc. That essentially, in one way or another, there is a strong economic aspect to the conflict theory, and it is probably because of that Karl Marx is actually associated with that, as he was probably one of the earliest polemical figure actively analyzing conflict, actively speaking of economic inequalities, and it is also that is why probably he has been coining the term of capitalism as that system which essentially normalizes differences in capital, differences in accumulation of different forms of capital, I believe, and this has also been one of those angles of thought which was actually helping other theorists in later decades to develop their own points of view on conflict or on the social change or, let's say, social structures.